describe likeness of God to an atheist? What does that look like?
Oof. What does that look like? All right, so let you guys know did not go to school for this, did not go to theology. I am not a preacher. I am just a member who's been learning and doing my own devotions on a daily basis. An atheist explaining it. So atheist basically likes to say there is no God. All right. So the first step with that is to say if there is truly no God, my question to them will kind of be, can you explain how you got here without there being a God? Because, like, yes, we know the scientific method, cells replicate over a time period, but let's go to the very beginning. A small little egg and a very tiny, tiny, tiny sperm cell combined to make a whole individual.
That's pretty wild. I think when you conceptualize that, it's
Yeah,
wild. I think people so used to it though they don't really conceptualize what that is, but it's wild.
it's like, and they're both microscopic size, small. Like we try to replicate it, but we can't replicate it. The only thing we can do is take the pieces that were already created and try to incubate that in a different situation. You can't replicate the sperm, and we haven't replicated the egg. Tell me if we haven't. If we haven't, I don't know. I know about that. But that's being made in the image of God. First of all, that's just being made in the
So
image.
that right there to you is being made in the image of God, right?
That's
there.
image. That's image because we're actually being made. So now likeness. Likeness is being in the likeness of God is because God is righteous and God is holy, right? And those two words get thrown out a lot, and people tend to twist them at times to break people's necks to follow a certain way and do certain things. So righteousness, right? It's the word right's in there, right? And it's doing what is right. What I believe righteousness. Right? Righteousness is more so doing what is right. So what we deem good I would say like good for all. Um I'm not the best with these biblical definitions as much as I should be, but holy is, I think, there's no blemish on that thing, right? You haven't done anything wrong. So that's why we're trying to be righteous and trying to be holy like God, because God can do no wrong. So that's the likeness of God that we're chasing. But our human nature gets in the way for us to do that. Hence why we have people who murder, try to kill people, try to hurt people. That's going again. That's feeding into their nature, because there's some stuff that we naturally have. It's like also having sex before marriage. We're feeding into our human nature, one of our human desires, versus actually saving ourselves for marriage.
I gotta double check if that's in there, but that's here nor there. I really do. I really gotta double check if that's in there.
Yeah. But that's where I get to more so the likeness of God. The likeness of God is trying to be as close to Him as possible. Like, you want to love on everyone, and the thing is, when people hear that, they be like, "I gotta love on them even they did me wrong." No, yes, you can love on them, but there's a way to handle that individual afterwards. You may not hang out with them as much anymore. You may have to keep them at a certain arm's length in certain situations, but you can still love on the individual, but not having to deal with the individual on a regular. Which people always miss that piece. It's like, yeah, I can love you from afar, but that don't mean I have to deal with you.
Yo, what happens if God does that? Because we're talking about us
Yeah.
being in the likeness of God. So it just my opinion, okay? Everything has to come from somewhere, right? So if you have a carnal urge to go, you did me wrong. I either want to do you wrong or I want to get you far away from me. Is God like that? Most people are gonna say no, right? But
Yep.
if God is not like that, then where is that coming from? Because
Human
God is
nature.
the all, you know what I mean? And then the likeness, us being like, you see what I'm going? Like it's a. Talk to me nice.
So the other thing that people tend to miss is that God gave us choice. So if God wasn't really who he says he was, he would force everyone to follow him, but he doesn't. He gives us the choice, and I think that's the other piece people miss, that we actually have a choice to follow him or to not follow him. Is even in the Bible it says all of us will not go with him. So he still gives us free will, choice. And people always tend to say, oh, if everything is destined to go this way, do I actually have a choice? Yes, you do. Because you have to make the decisions on how you get to that point. Which people don't understand. People misconstrue that. You have to make those decisions. God's not going to make those decisions for you. He may show you the way, but it's up to you to follow or not.
I do understand where they're coming from, though. They basically saying it's already predetermined. God knows all. So if I won't bring nobody up, but if there's people out here that have been serial killers and harmed and went wild, right, and they genuinely don't see the issue, but God knows all, and they don't turn over their life to Christ or to God, God should have already known that was coming. That I think that's where the mind frame comes. Well, what's the point? That type of energy. And at that point, this is what I personally tell people: you're thinking too far, and you're gonna hurt your brain. And there's a lot of things that you can't conceptualize. Well, it's not worth your brain power.
What I tend to tell people is that, and I think I've said it on here before too, bro, is that we can't get all the answers. We won't have all the answers. We never will. We try to get them all, but we never will. The thing is, if people just focus on what they can control, they'll be okay. Versus trying to figure out what the unknown is.
Here, Justice Payne Tyson, the neighborhood therapist in the building. On behalf of the Black Men Misunderstood, we want to thank you for rocking with us. We're taking another little break until we get into the final round of the season. October, we'll be back. We're gonna light you up. We got great content coming for you, and y'all can keep stealing the content, not giving credit. We'll be back for you. Be easy.